This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses.
Okay, my favourite guitar design is the Fender Stratocaster, and the guitars that I play most of the time are a take on the Fender Stratocaster. This is an actual Fender Stratocaster. There are a few things that people find annoying about Strats. So one is the volume kind of placement, right? You see a lot of people mention that that's getting in the way for them. Another is that they only have 21 frets. Of course, the more modern ones will likely have 22 frets because they kind of just designed an overhang, which is nice. But the most annoying thing of all, I think, is having the truss rod adjustment here. And you've got two options, no good options. One option is to take the neck off to adjust. So what's happened this time of year, basically, in England, it's cold at the moment, it snowed today. And what happens at this time of year, there's not enough relief in the neck, it's too flat. And as a result, essentially, I need to adjust the neck, you know, a couple of times a year, but the option is either to take the neck off or to take off the scratch plate. Now the neck of course has 4 screws, but I think those are more important screw holes, and so for me I think the best option in this case would be to take off the scratch plate. So I'm gonna just do that, just kidding. So essentially what has happened is, as the weather has changed, the guitar has now got too little relief in the neck, meaning that you've got fret buzzing. Essentially the neck has gone too flat. So now that those are out, we can sometimes kind of just lift away the pickup. Certainly you can do it if you loosen off the strings. The issue is, of course, now we're wanting to make adjustments to the truss rod, and those are difficult to do, especially if you've got the neck off and you might have to readjust. At least if we keep the neck on, then if we find that we need to add a couple of extra turns, then at least we don't have to take the neck off again, right? So if you get lucky, you might be able to pull this back a little bit and then get to the truss rod. I need to loosen the truss rod here to add some more relief. So I can just get in here like that, and then hopefully that will be enough. I'm going to leave the scratch plate loose for now and then tighten it up. That for me is the worst design aspect of the Stratocaster. It's quite frustrating, and I have to do this sort of thing, you know, potentially a couple of times a year when it's winter and when it's summer, because the climate changes enough that it's an issue. If you've got other things that you hate about the Strat, everything else about the vintage Strat works for me really well. You know, 7.25 inch radius, the stylet low output pickups. I just find this truss rod adjustment still is quite irritating, right? And sometimes it just has to be done. So do you take the neck off? Do you create a little route there? Let me know your thoughts on that.
So in terms of why do people still use vintage neck heel truss rod adjustment, Chris from K-Line, who builds my favourite Strats, said, "I do not have a solid reason, it's part tradition and part need. I like that you can make a one-piece neck with the old heel adjust neck, but you need two-piece for a headstock adjust. I also like the fact that there is solid directly under the nut slot on a vintage style. The headstock version has a channel directly under the nut. Does it make a difference? Yes. Is it detectable? Maybe. Also, and I've noticed this, you know, the Gibson, which is famous for the headstock breaking issue, adjustments at the headstock, right? And also I've seen a couple of breaks where with roasted neck, if you've got the headstock adjustment, that can be like a little bit of a weak point of the guitar. At least with the one piece kind of neck and the truss rod here, you've got a solid piece of wood the whole way through. I think, you know, that to me answers the question for why people might still be doing this. So at least I have an answer for that now.
One other alternative that I've just seen on Tom Ann's YouTube is to kind of put a capo on your strings and then loosen your strings as so, and then loosen your neck pocket, which is not ideal in my opinion. This is not what I want to be doing with a guitar often. I don't want to have to take the neck pocket out, right? Each time I do this with a guitar, I sort of shorten the life of these particular screws, right? Because screws into wood, they have sort of a finite amount of things you can do with them. Over time, these holes become less snug or whatever. So, and also, a Strat neck actually moves left to right a little bit. So, in some ways, I don't know. It's not what I want to be having to do on a guitar. I don't know if there's any negatives to having the truss rod adjustment, like the bullet style up the top of the neck. Let me know in the comments if there are. One of the most, if not the most frustrating things about a Stratocaster guitar. And you can't even really be sure that the adjustment is going to work first time. It's not great. But on Tom Ann, they're not loosening screws the whole way, and they're keeping the strings on at least.
I lean like this to bring the neck up like that. Okay,